Narcissistic beagle killer Anthony Fauci is on his farewell tour. Goodbye, dignity. He's desperately trying to rewrite a deadly history, so we conveniently forget his crushing first draft. Dr. Feelbad went on CBS with this utterly odd rationalization about appeasing China in the shadow of the global pandemic. Watch.
If you look at the anti-China approach that clearly the Trump administration had right from the very beginning, and the accusatory nature, the Chinese are going to flinch back and say, no, I'm sorry, we're not going to talk to you about it, which is not correct.
But they're not talking to the Biden administration about it either.
Exactly. I think that horse is out of the barn, and they're very suspicious of anybody trying to accuse them.
Maybe because they're guilty. Hey, Tony, why do you think there was an accusatory nature? Because 1 million Americans were going to die from a pandemic caused by China? And you think hand-holding and pacifying that snuggle bear would have gotten us access and answers? What are you, new? You're not. You're 81. Anthony Fauci prefers appeasement because, metaphorically, he's China. And this revisionist history is the rationale for appeasing himself. Kinky. He knows more than he's letting on. He's on the hook for what he knew long before COVID's deadly emergence and his personal enrichment during the pandemic, which is cause alone for congressional scrutiny. Fauci claims he's apolitical, yet he worked with politicians like Bill de Blasio to keep schools closed in the nation's largest school district. And he has actively worked against Senator Rand Paul, whose pointed questions are the only truthful arrows in a quiver of hero-worshipping duds. Out of one side of his mouth, Fauci says he never issued lockdown guidance. And out the other side of his lying lips, well, that betrays his quest for power when he says our lockdowns should have been more draconian and more aggressive, just like China's. If he's so fond of press coverage, he should embed himself in one of China's current quarantine camps to witness firsthand how horrific it is to be denied the rights he also so openly despises. This gaslighting charlatan can't exit the stage quickly enough, and I know he'll never have the courage to answer which other research projects he funded that might lead to the next pandemic, because this self-gratifying science denier doesn't have the nutlets to admit how this one started. Hint, it was with his money, and that's the memo. House Republicans promising COVID investigations now that they have the majority. Good. Fauci says he's happy to oblige, so will the truth finally come out? Will we see some accountability? The party panel is back. Chris Barron, Leslie Marshall, and Hannah Cox. Hannah, I will start with you because I think it's pretty audacious for Fauci to be rewriting history once again on his way out the door.
Yeah, the limit does not exist for this man's audacity. I am just so done with him. This man not only funded the torturous animal experimentation that we now know led to the lab leak in Wuhan that caused the global pandemic. He lied about it. He tried to threaten people who talked about it. He tried to have us labeled as conspiracy theorists. He tried to work with the government to shut down people who posted about that on social media. And he would still be lying about it had it not been for the White Coat Waste Project coming in, filing FOIAs, and finding out what the government was actually doing. He's still working to block even more information on what he's doing as far as those practices go. I'm so done with him. We know that if he had gotten his way, we would be looking a lot like China right now with ridiculous lockdowns, skyrocketing deaths, and basic civil liberties completely trampled in this country. I think he is a menace to society, and I want him off my TV forever. I want him in jail. So I hope House Republicans follow through and get to the bottom of this, and I want to see some real accountability and a real reckoning over the origins of this disease.
Well, you know, Leslie, to Hannah's point, people are still very upset about this. And you know, as a parent, kids experience learning loss that they have not figured out a way to overcome, regardless of how much money was infused into schools. So why should Fauci get a pass?
Well, I don't think Fauci is getting a pass, although, Hannah, don't hold your breath because he's not going to be wearing an orange suit anytime soon. Even the players that I'd like to see on the right aren't going to be wearing an orange suit anytime soon. We know that most of these hearings are political theater for re-election for most politicians, and that's on both sides of the aisle. Look, I will agree with something he said. I don't think calling it the China virus was wise from the former president because we didn't need to get China more upset. What we needed is to be able to have investigations investigations, real investigations, we and our allies throughout the world in that lab, so we can find out not just really where it came from, but how it came about that way, because then perhaps we would have a better time containing the various mutations that we're living with now going forward. And right now it's manageable,
you say that because
what happens around the corner.
And you know, the former president's inartful language was certainly annoying. So China could have gone in another direction, and they could have had open books and shared data with the World Health Organization, which they didn't. They turned into a completely opaque state. They jailed doctors, the ones who tried to blow the whistle on the whole thing. Some of them died from the virus itself that they were trying to contain, and they destroyed research and information. So we will never get to the cause of it. They didn't do that because President Trump called it the China virus. They did it because they were guilty, and they think that they are above scrutiny. They are not. Fauci is not. So what happens now, Chris?
Well, first off, Trump called it the China virus because, surprise, it was the China virus. And secondly, no amount of kissing a dictator's ass is going to make China step up and say, oh, yeah, hey, by the way, we killed millions of people worldwide. We screwed up. Oops, that's not going to happen. And in terms of people who aren't going to say, oops, they got it wrong, Fauci was literally wrong about everything. He was wrong about the source of the virus. He was wrong about masks. He was wrong about vaccines, social distancing, lockdowns.
I think Chris froze a little bit because he was so excited. And there's little Tony Fauci sitting there with Deborah Birx. Of course, you don't hear anything from Deborah Birx anymore because she was scapegoated. They just shoved her into some sort of bat cave and slammed it shut, and we never got to hear from her again. Maybe she was the Cassandra in this whole thing.